بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. We greet you with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh on this, the 8th day of the month of Ramadan, blessed Ramadan, and we greet you with Ramadan Kareem. We greet you with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The Jews for today, the 8th day of the month of Ramadan, is Surah to Yunus and Surah to Hud. I was reciting this morning, I recited the whole of Surah to Yunus, and when I was halfway in Surah to Hud, my sleepiness was so much I had to stop and go to sleep. I still have not completed. Once you complete your juz before they go to sleep at night, it's okay. You can do it in parts. We apologize that this today, the 8th Ramadan, our video is going to be late on the internet. Of course, my daughter is having finally an exam and she's so busy. Today's video is going to be much longer than normal because I have to make some announcements. And then I have to offer a comment on the regime change in Pakistan, and then give the talk for Ramadan, the 8th day of Ramadan. So now let's begin with Allah's blessed name. And the first announcement is concerning my books, which have been translated to different languages. We thank those who have helped us to pay the cost of printing, and today we have so much joy in our hearts to inform you that for the very first time, my books are now available in East Africa, in Mombasa, in the Swahili language. I believe it's about 5 or 6 titles which have been translated to Swahili and have been printed. And now we need your help to try to reach the books out to the people all over East Africa. And I have a small team of volunteers in Mombasa, so I do need help. If you can assist us in getting the books out in different parts of East Africa where the Swahili language is spoken, if you can assist us, do please send me an email. You'll find my email address at the bottom of the screen. Do send me an email so that I can put you in touch with my students in Mombasa, so that these books can now reach the Swahili speaking people. And one more time, thank you, may Allah bless you, those who assisted us in meeting the cost of printing the books. The second translation is to the Dutch language, and Alhamdulillah we have a few books which have been translated to Dutch, and may Allah bless those who have been translating my books to Dutch. And we have the Quran and the Moon is now being printed. We have Jerusalem in the Quran, which should be printed soon. And then we have George Bernard Shaw and the Islamic Scholar, which is being prepared for printing in Dutch. They've already been translated. So this is good news for you in Holland, in the Netherlands. I will be there with you in the last half of the month of June, if Allah so wills. And you can get my books in Dutch now, inshallah. And may Allah bless those who are helping us to meet the cost of printing. I hope when I am in Rotterdam, I hope to be able to not only give lectures, but to conduct a class. So if you're in Germany, if you're in Belgium, if you're around surrounding areas, you can come to Rotterdam to join that class, and we'll be taking up this book, The Messiah, the Quran, and Akhir Zaman, in which the crucifixion of Nabi Isa alayhi salam is of paramount importance, the topic of the crucifixion, and the return of the Messiah to the world. What does the Quran have to say? Maybe the class will last for a few days. It will be a wonderful opportunity for you to travel to Rotterdam and to join that class. Whether you are Muslim or whether you are Orthodox Christian, you are welcome to join the class. My book Constantinople in the Quran has been translated to Greek, and the printing is almost completed. So when we go to Greece, inshallah, that book will be launched in Greece, inshallah. These are the books which have been printed in different languages. Now then, we turn now to the second announcement. And that is that I have sad news. I must speak in memory of a beloved brother, a learned scholar of Islam. When he was a more learned scholar than myself, advanced to me. His name, Maulana Bashir Ahmad Kino of Mauritius. He was a senior student to me at the Alimia Institute of Islamic Studies, and we were dear friends over there. I learned from him, my learned brother, and he graduated perhaps around 1971, 72, and returned to Mauritius and served the mission of Islam with dedication and consistency, and following in the footsteps of our teacher, Maulana Dr. Muhammad Fadlur Rahman Ansari. He never identified himself with any sectarian movement. He was not Brelvi, he was not Deobandi, he was not Salafi, he was not this and that and the other. Just a Muslim. And he was loved by all in Mauritius. And Allah blessed him with a death in blessed Ramadan. And on this occasion, we want to pay tribute to the memory of Maulana Bashir Ahmad Kino and our beloved brother who studied with us at the Alimia Institute of Islamic Studies in Pakistan. And we ask you to join with us in raising your hands and making a dua that Allah Most High might have mercy on his soul, and that Allah Most High might give sabr to his family to bear the loss, that Allah Most High might forgive him his sins, that Allah Most High might make it easy for him the questioning in the grave, that he might sleep peacefully in his grave, that his grave might be cool and spacious for him, and that he might be raised on Judgment Day, and by Allah's kindness and grace he might be blessed to enter into Jannah. We pray for this with all our heart, and we ask you to pray for this as well. And you see his photograph, inshallah, on the screen. Now then, we turn to the third matter we want to deal with today, and that is the regime change in Pakistan. We've received the news that through the mechanism called a vote of no confidence, the government of Pakistan has been changed. In 2014, there was a color revolution in Ukraine, and it cost the Western world some $5 to $6 billion to bring about that change of government in Ukraine. They spent that money to bribe their way, to pay the cost to bring about a change of the government. And because of what they did in 2014, look at the result today. That the people of Donbass refused to accept that color revolution, as the people of Pakistan will now do the same thing. They refused to accept that color revolution, and they resisted it. And the new government of Ukraine, which was hostile to Russia, which replaced the previous government which was friendly to Russia, this new government then waged war on the people of Donbass for 7 years. And when Russia saw the picture that was emerging, that the steps were moving slowly but surely in the direction of Ukraine becoming a member state of NATO. And the encirclement of Russia was being achieved, and a rope was being tied around Russia's neck. Russia had to do something, as the people of Pakistan now have to do something, and this is why I'm recording this talk, to advise my brothers and sisters in Pakistan. What Russia did was to say, well, first of all, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is to refuse to become a prisoner of your strategic environment. Not at all. Rather, our Prophet ﷺ would take an initiative that would seek to transform or to change his strategic environment to make it better for him, rather than to become a prisoner of the environment. And that is what led to the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, and the Treaty of Hudaybiyah led to the fall of Khaybar, and the fall of Khaybar led to the fall of Mecca, and the triumph of the Prophet ﷺ over those who were waging war on him and waging war on Islam. So this is the value of that initiative that the Prophet ﷺ took. And Russia's leadership did the same thing. They followed that sunnah, that they took an initiative in which they raised their armed forces, and they put their armed forces close to the border with Ukraine to send a message. The message is, this is a red line. We don't want to invade Ukraine. And I believe that Russia was truthful. And I said that Russia would not invade Ukraine, and I'm proud that I took that position. The caravan will keep on moving, and that the dogs keep on barking. Russia said, we will not, we have no intention to invade Ukraine, and Russia was truthful. But the rope was being tied around the neck, and it was tightening. And Russia then said, this is the red line. We do not want Ukraine to join NATO because that is a serious security problem for Russia. And similarly, if Pakistan is now going to go back into the Yankee camp, it's a serious problem for the Pakistani people. It may not be a problem for the leadership of the Pakistan Armed Forces, or for those who are so happy to take US dollars to try to bring about the change of government in Pakistan. But the Pakistani people, you have to do something when you see these things happening. And Russia said, this is our red line. And for Pakistan, your red line has now arrived. That's right. Your red line has now arrived, as it's arrived for Russia. And it's only when Russia realized that Ukraine was now going to launch a massive invasion of Donbass, pre-planned, and that the Western world had refused. No, Ukraine has the right to join NATO. Every country has the right to do that, regardless of security risk and security problems it causes for your neighbors. This kind of shallow thinking on the part of the Western world. And look at the story now. Look at the story now. Pakistan, I'm doing this for you to understand where you are now located. So that when Russia Russia intervened militarily, it was not that I was mistaken. No, I didn't make any mistake. I said that Russia would not invade Ukraine. And Russia said, we will not do it. But Russia also placed a red line. I am not in a position to place any red line. And when the red line was crossed, then Russia did invade Ukraine. I am not wrong. Not at all. I'm not wrong at all. And the same thing now with Pakistan. In the same way that Russia with tremendous courage and integrity, intervene militarily to help the oppressed people of Donbass, and intervene military to ensure that Ukraine never becomes a NATO member state, not ever. And Russia is successful in that. That's the success of the Russian intervention, that Ukraine can never again ever become a member state of NATO. That's the success of the Russian military intervention. Let the dogs keep on barking. This caravan is moving on. And Russia is also sending a message to the oppressed people of the world that power will now be used to liberate the oppressed. Power will now be used to resist the oppressor. And I gave this comment, and I don't know whether the Pakistan Armed Forces have the intellectual capacity to even understand the leadership of the Pakistan Armed Forces, whether they have the capacity to even understand what is in the Quran. They probably don't have more than a passing acquaintance with the Quran. These people who have the military power in their hands. What I said on that occasion was that the Quran has spoken about Zulkarnain in Surah Al-Kahf. And Zulkarnain is not to be identified with any individual, not Cyrus and not Darius and not Alexander, none of them. Zulkarnain means someone who impacts on two generations, two people, two eras, two epochs. Qarn is a generation, a people. Qarn is also a horn, but the Quran has never used the word qarn to mean a horn. Do I need to repeat that? The way to study the Quran is tafsirul Quran bil Quran, that you study the Quran with the Quran. They can do what they want, but you will not do what they are doing. You will study the Quran with the Quran. And the Quran has never used the word qarn to mean a horn. And so the Quran is speaking in Surah Al-Kahf about two events, two people in history, two times in history. And it is the two times would witness a power in the region of the Black Sea, power resting on the foundations of faith. And that power is blessed by Allah to achieve whatever objective it seeks to achieve. And that power is used to resist the oppressor, to punish the oppressor, and to seek to help the oppressed, to liberate them, and to help and to reward those who have faith and whose conduct is righteous. This is the first of the two qarns of Qarnain, and its first qarn occurred in the region of the Black Sea. The Quran uses the term بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم عين حمية, a water which is dark and murky, and that's why it is called the Black Sea. People who have sense can easily understand this subject. People who have sense can easily understand this subject, yes. And so, when the second of the two qarns is to occur, it is in the region of the Black Sea that we must direct our attention to that region. And when we see power emerging in the region of the Black Sea, and Crimea commands the Black Sea, when we see that power emerging in the region of the Black Sea, and when we see that power resting on the foundations of faith, and that power is used to resist the oppressor, even though it's been oppressing the world for 300 years, and some add 9. that godless, decadent oppressor, oppressing and terrorizing mankind. And now, after 300 years, a power emerges that can resist that oppressor, that can punish that oppressor. Wait for the big war that's coming and you see. That can punish that oppressor, that can liberate the oppressed, as the people of Donbass are now being liberated from oppression. And that power is used to help and to reward those who have faith. We have come to the conclusion that when the Soviet Union collapsed, Russia returned from being an atheist state, godless. Russia returned to her Orthodox Christian heart. Can you deny what I'm saying? And it is this Russia which is returning to her Orthodox Christian heart, which says never, ever, ever a man cannot ever marry another man in Russia and get a marriage certificate. That is for the decadent West, which has given the world NATO. And this Russia now has taken control of Crimea. This Russia has the power today that NATO has to respect. It's not like Libya. It is because of Russia's power that they've not been able to remove the government of Venezuela. It is because of Russia's power that their golden boys, their Dajjals, warriors, the ISIS jihad in Syria and in Iraq was destroyed. It is because of Russia's power that Russia has been able to intervene militarily in Ukraine, and no NATO member state dares to intervene to stand up to Russia. All that they can do is to pose sinful economic sanctions and monetary sanctions. Sinful. And Allah has responded to their sins. Allah has said in Surah Al-Rahman, "Sanafrugu lakum ayyuha thaqalan." I'm going to deal with both of you who are so laden with sin, the alliance of shayateen, of men and the jinn. This is what is the heart of the Western civilization. And so I have come to the conclusion, this is my opinion, that we are now witnessing the second Qarn of Qarnain. I may be the only voice in Islamic scholarship saying that, but never mind, I am accustomed to that. This is Allah's kindness to me. And so we are now, if I am correct, and Allah knows best, if I am correct, we are now located at a critically important moment in history, when history is turning. At this time, the people of Pakistan must understand that it's not like yesterday and the day before yesterday, when the military can come with a barrel of a gun and take over the country and then take the country back to be a lapdog of American imperialism. Not at all. And open the territory of Pakistan for 14 years for NATO to send their weapons over to Afghanistan to kill our people. Not at all. A voice rose in Pakistan, a voice of credibility and integrity and courage, and said, no, Pakistan will not wage America's wars for America anymore. We pay tribute to that voice. The leadership of the Pakistan Armed Forces may not do it. The politicians who can be bought with US dollars may not do it. The ones who have betrayed the government of Pakistan and caused this US dollar regime change in Pakistan, tomorrow the people of Pakistan will deal with you. You are a pathetic sight today. My advice is for the people of Pakistan to pay attention to the Quran. My advice is to pay attention to Surah Al-Kahf of the Quran. My advice to Pakistan, pay attention to Dhul Qarnayn of the Quran, and to understand what I'm saying to you. This is not business as usual. Not at all. This is a new page in history. A new page in history has emerged with the Russian intervention in Ukraine. And Pakistan, the people of Pakistan, you have to be on the right side of history. The armed forces are led by people who are on the wrong side of history. The politicians, the professional politicians, as usual, are on the wrong side of history. But you have a leader in Pakistan who, despite the mistakes he made with the IMF and so on, yes, at least this leader had the courage and the integrity to say, we need to build the same relationship with Russia that we have with China. And they can have the US dollar revolution and regime change. It will not stop it. This caravan is moving on. You cannot prevent it. This caravan is moving on. Pakistan is going to build the same relationship with Russia that it has with China. You can't stop it, no matter how many more regime changes you have. I don't want to see the people of Pakistan coming out on the streets in violent demonstrations. I don't want to see blood flowing on the streets of Pakistan. No. Allah is with you. And if you put your trust in Allah, you'll be successful. This is an opportunity rather than a debacle. Allah says in the Quran, وَعَسَّى أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. It may be that you dislike something, but in it there is benefit for you. And so this is my message to you, that yes, we are very sad about the events that have taken in Pakistan. While they are beating their drums, US dollar drums, and they are happy, we are sad. But the majority of Pakistani people are with us. They don't have the majority. It's just a matter of time. You have to show your strength, show your numbers, and do it in a non-violent way. Do not give any opportunity for blood to be shed. Conduct yourselves now with dignity. Conduct yourselves now following in the sunnah of the man you follow as your leader, Maulana Nabi Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. And that is a non-violent response to show your strength in Pakistan, that this country cannot be stopped. This caravan cannot be stopped. The dogs can keep on barking. But Pakistan is going to build the same relationship with Russia that Pakistan has with China, and no one can stop that, not even the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of Pakistan. This is my advice to you, gently given to you today. Gently given to you, and I hope you respond in this way, and we avoid bloodshed in Pakistan, we avoid civil war in Pakistan. And when they see the evidence, mounting evidence, that Pakistan is going to remain faithful to the Quran, Pakistan will recognize that the red line has been reached. The red line was reached in Ukraine, and now the red line is reached to Pakistan. It's not business as usual, Chief of Staff, not at all. It's a new page in history, and we're going to take the people of Pakistan on Sirat al-Mustaqim. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I now turn to my last part of this video, and that is, today is the 8th day of the month of Ramadan, and we have so far devoted our time to the preliminaries if you want to study the Quran. And why is it so important to study the Quran as the Quran ought to be studied? The answer is that Allah says when He told Adam alayhi salam to make sajda, to prostrate himself before, my apologies. He ordered the angels to prostrate themselves before Adam alayhi salam. This was not a prostration of worship. This was a prostration of respect. The Hindus still have it up to now today, the prostration of respect, which belongs, to the first page of history. The angels were ordered to make sajda, but Iblis did not. Then Allah spoke to Adam and his wife, Hawa or Eve, and asked them to reside in the garden of paradise, in Jannah, but not to approach a forbidden tree. In this book, you will find the Quran, the Messiah, the Quran, and Akhir Zaman, and also Dajjal, the Quran, and Awwal Zaman. In both these books, you'll find references to that forbidden tree in the Quran. But then, although he was prohibited to do it, he did do it because Shaitan seduced him. Then Allah expelled them from Jannah to go and live on earth. And He said, I'm going to send guidance for you. I'm not just sending mankind on earth, I'm sending guidance to you. And if you follow the guidance, you will have no cause for fear and for grief. The guidance has come in the form of scriptures. And the last guidance has come in the Quran. And the Quran begins by the statement, Alif Lam, Ba'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim. Alif Lam Mim. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This Quran has come to provide guidance. It has come to tell you what is money. If the Imran Khan government of Pakistan had listened to me 3 years ago, if they had listened to me or what I was talking to them about the guidance in the Quran concerning money and the dangers of the IMF and the monetary system created by godless, decadent, oppressive Western civilization, this paper money monetary system, they don't teach this subject in the Darul Uloom. So the Maulanas and the Mufti don't know the subject. They don't study monetary economics. If Pakistan's government had been faithful to the Quran, you would not have the inflation which was used as a sword to bring down the government. A failure, an economic failure. The government has to be blamed. Yes, Imran Khan has to be blamed because he did not follow the advice given to him for reasons best known to him. You have to go to the Quran to locate that guidance. And that's what we are doing now. We are teaching you how to go to the Quran, why to go to the Quran, why to study it, to locate the guidance which Allah has sent in the Quran. In order to be successful, the methodology for studying of the Quran, of course, must be followed if you are to receive that guidance. What is money in the Quran? When we teach the subject, you'll know that the Quran always gives you that money in the Quran is a gold coin called the dinar and a silver coin called the dirham. And it is when gold and silver are in short supply that the Sunnah gives us other sources, other kinds of money. What is this primary money? And money in the Quran has intrinsic value. And so therefore you cannot manipulate the value to bring about inflation to bring down a government you don't like. Okay? So there would have been no inflation. Prices would rise and fall based on demand and supply. But when prices are only going up and up and up and up, the market is no longer a free and a fair market. The market is corrupted, the market is destroyed. Why was it so difficult for a man with a degree from Oxford University to understand so simple a thing? So if Imran Khan has been brought down, he has himself to blame, that he did not follow what we advise him to do. And so do not give your support to Imran Khan in the future unless and until you get a pledge from him that he recognizes absolute truth in the Quran. And one of the first things that his government will attempt to do, if ever he returned to power in Pakistan, is to remain faithful to the Quran in terms of what constitutes money. And therefore, an effort has to be made. It won't be done overnight. The Pakistan rupee will have to remain in the market, even while you make the gold dinar and silver dirham legal tender. Unless and until Imran Khan's government, his party, pledges that we are going to deal with inflation in this way, to restore money with integrity, it's just going to be the same story over and over again. And so now, what is the way to study the Quran? How do we study the Quran? I want to simply take you to the verse of the Quran, or the verses of the Quran, which are the supremely important verses, and we leave the subject there. It is in Surah Al-Waqi'ah. And my teacher had directed me to this subject when I was 25, 26 years of age, but I was a green banana. I it couldn't soak in. Allah speaks in Surah Al-Waqi'ah, and this is what he says. Listen carefully. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فلا أقسم بمواقع النجوم, and I take an oath by the positions in which the stars are located. وَإِنَّهُ لَقَسَّمٌ لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عَظِيمٌ, and this is not any ordinary oath or qasam. This is a supremely important oath or qasam. This is the mother of all qasam or oath. What is it? What is the Quran speaking about? وَإِنَّهُ لَقَسَمٌ لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عَظِيمٌ, the positions in which the stars are located. إِنَّهُ لَقُرْآنٌ كَرِيمٌ, this is a recitation. Quran means recitation. This is a recitation which is noble and generous. And so whoever recites this Quran and whoever studies this Quran, Allah will raise you. This Quran will raise you to a position of nobility, to a high status. The dogs can keep on barking, but this Quran will raise you to a very high status. إِنَّهُ لَقُرْآنٌ كَرِيمٌ فِي كِتَابٍ مَكْنُونٍ, this recitation called the Quran is located, is preserved in a book which is guarded and preserved. Was it the son of the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan, that gifted son he had, his eldest son, who was a scholar and a thinker and a man of great insight, Muhammad Darashuku. Yes, I just read a book about Darashuku, and he came to the conclusion that the Kitab Maknoon. The book which is Maknoon was the Vedas or the Upanishads or so on. No, Darashuku, that's a mistake. The Kitab Maknoon is the Quran, which is preserved in a book. La yamassuhu illa al-mutahharun. None can touch. Is this touching literal? Is this ayah muhkama? Or is this symbolic? Is it ayah mutashabiha? How can you touch a recitation? It is the recitation that Allah is speaking about, not the book in which the recitation is located. La yamassuhu, none can touch it, the recitation, illa al-mutahharun. So this cannot be, you can't touch something which is located in the world of sound. So Allah is actually saying that you cannot penetrate this Quran beyond even touching the Quran, the surface meaning of the Quran. You cannot penetrate that unless you are clean and pure, and that cleanliness and purity of the heart means the heart must be faithful to the one God and faithful to the truth which has come from the one God. Can you be faithful to the one God and you are a Muslim and you have a bottle of whiskey in your hand? Can you be faithful? Can a bottle of whiskey lead you to provide guidance for Pakistan? No. We are asking you, turn away from the whiskey. This is your brother Imran talking to you. You have a future. Tomorrow, you have a future if you return to the Quran with tears in your eyes. And return to the Quran and study the Quran with a heart which is turned to Allah, not to a bottle of whiskey. And tomorrow, Allah can bless you to be a dazzling light for the whole of Pakistan, intellectual light for the whole of Pakistan. It's time to make tawbah. Return to a heart which is clean and pure. And then you'll be able to study the Quran. So what is the oath? Answer: if you want to study the Quran, you have to study the Quran the way you study the stars. Let me repeat that and we will end. If you want to study the Quran, you have to study the Quran the way you study the stars. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.